Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel, where I, Eric Habibi Krown, have come back to you with tidings of new bull targets for the good old Bitcoin. No, just kidding, although we will be getting into a continuation of the higher term time frame analysis, of which Bitcoin meeting one of the major targets from yesterday. That was the 19,200-ish region based upon the bullish divergence on the weekly time frame. Now, with that in mind, there is a few new things to be aware of coming into today for the weekly closure, and then of course continuation of the very high term time frame analysis, looking at where we could potentially be seeing this rally go within the next month or two. On top of that, we'll also go in the low term time frame as well. And other than that, I should once again remind you to like and subscribe and tickle the bell, because I got dressed today and that's very nice. Anyways, my mom's finished dressing me, so I feel quite good today. Anyways, let's just jump right on into it, all jokes aside, and start off right on over here with the weekly time frame. So the weekly time frame for CME is closing today. This is one of the short-term biases from yesterday, saying that, hey, Bitcoin on the extremely short term probably pulls back. We did get that just below 18,000 bucks, but continuation of the upside is very, very likely here. And so that's essentially what we got in this particular case. So there's a few things to be aware of with today's closure for the weekly. One of them is going to be the third drive of bullish divergence on the weekly RSI right here. The short-term target on that has already been met on the 21 exponential moving average. Again, that was the 19,200-ish region. And the next sort of target would be, well, very likely into the $20,000 territory. We'll come back at that one a little bit later to come out from a little bit more of a statistical standpoint and to kind of generate greater or more formidable areas of interest, if you will. But what is also at stake today is that the weekly jewel for CME has not just turned up, but it is now turning light blue. And if it closes, well, basically anywhere above about 18,500, it will remain with that light blue color, and that will be a full-on validation of this particular setup, which, personally speaking, as we called out in late December, that's where I think that it really truly started, when Bitcoin was actually still in the $16,000 territory. Anyways, this is all coming within the context of an extremely low volatility regime. So that would imply that we have not necessarily seen the full effect of this just yet. Now, we're talking about a weekly time frame here, so that doesn't necessarily mean that things can't pull back in the short term. In fact, that would be what the weekend is for, typically speaking. But ultimately, that would kind of set the stage for the next, for the next few weeks to come, governing targets higher. Now, with that said, we also have the weekly over here for the stochastic momentum oscillator, which will also be continuing with its upside momentum. There are a few major things here to be aware of that we've been going over since basically July of this year, where we got 1, 2, 3 of these higher lows alongside lower lows on price action. So that would be bullish divergence on this as well. Again, within the context of extreme lows on volatility, and now it's maintaining above the critical zone, all very important things. And it will maintain its upside curvature coming into next week as long as Bitcoin closes today above about 16,630. So looking, good so far. Should also denote that there is bullish divergence on the DMI here, as well as it slowly works its way, hopefully, to positive territory for the boo laws, which would indicate even more continuation over time. Anyways, so now that we've gone through that, let's go over here. Let's talk about the very high term time frames, talk about the 2-day time frame. We got another closure last night, so I wanted to update on this yet again. If you're new to this channel, I won't go through the full explanation, but basically it's a volatility versus stochastic momentum signature. And in this particular setup, anytime that we have witnessed volatility on the 2-day time frame represented by this indicator here, the BBWP indicator, get below 10 percentile or more, the expansion phase that follows from that extreme low over the past almost 5 years here has led to an average move of almost 35% over the course of nearly 3 weeks, and the stochastic oscillator has been correcting in the direction of that volatility expansion almost 84.5% of the time. Now, here's the thing, that number is obviously going to go up because this one's once again working out in that fashion, but I want to address a comment, or like kind of a common comment that I've been seeing recently, where people have been saying, some very nice things, saying things like, you called it right, or you nailed it, and that's great, but I do want to actually step back and recognize that I haven't done anything here. All I'm doing is I'm presenting statistics as they are, and then price action plays out in this case in that fashion, which I think most people kind of desired. So don't confuse statistics with certainties in this case. There are going to be times, there are going to be iterations where this does not work out, obviously, in that desired direction. I mean, and theoretically about 15% of the time. So do be aware of that. I don't say that to be humble. I say that to be realistic, because that's that is what it is. I cannot take credit for this. What I can take credit for is just presenting these setups like in a viable manner. So it validates the setup is what I'm trying to say. That's what's very important here. Yes, we have several other of these charts, but this one's the one that's most updated right now. The other ones are probably coming in next week, which can govern targets, maybe into late February or even March. Anyways, in this case, we can see that the 2-day timeframe stochastic oscillator maintained its upside direction. The new pivot upon last night's closure is 17,000. And so as long as Bitcoin remains above there, momentum remains the upside. And again, working off this trend line. And also what was new was, well, this is very obviously now volatility expansion, as you do see the highest levels of 2-day volatility basically since November, early November dump. So this, again, if you're a little more on the conservative side, I'd say that would be full-on validation in this particular case. Anyways, yes, so now that we have that in place, we can reference these stats over here a little bit more perhaps aggressively. Again, the average of these moves has been about 35% almost. And I also took a first standard deviation measurement of this, which gives us a range between about 25.5% all the way up to 44%. So let's play around with the numbers here. On the lower end of the first standard deviation, 25.5% would put Bitcoin where? That would put Bitcoin at just above $20,000, about 20,150 to 20,250. So that could potentially be the next area of interest over the next coming weeks. The average at 35% would put Bitcoin at about 21,700, basically in alignment with that last major high that we did see in, I think that was November, right before the old FTX dump-ola party. And then if it truly goes for one of these crazy moves, which I do think is actually less likely, just personally speaking, at 44%, that'd put Bitcoin about a little bit above $23,000. So those kind of be the orders of operation based upon that particular setup. It's been good to us thus far, and fair enough. There we go. The next sort of brick once again within that house. And again, I want to give a lot of credit to the people who have been on this channel now, sticking around during these times, especially in the last couple of months, which were pretty fucking boring for me as well. But these boring times are where major highs and major lows are typically put in this case, a major low. So I stick with what I've been saying for a while now. I think it's a little more obvious right here. Bitcoin has a major low in. Is it a macro low? I still refrain from like giving like a full-on send on that particular topic, at least from what I've seen. I think that you're very likely going to get a potential for that on some of my most favorite indicators at the end of this month. But it's potential. But major low, yeah, looks pretty good to me. Anyways, now that we've gone through that, let's go back and reference the HPDR indicator. So yesterday, the HPDR indicator on the daily was what I was using to get that short-term pullback at 18,500 basically. Obviously, we got that. It's not going to show here because this is a daily chart, but intraday, there was that move down to about 17.9 or so, and it held. Our major pivot for maintaining overall bullish momentum was 17.5, and in this case, we can use this indicator yet again to get the next pivot. So yes, into the next week, I would be expecting Bitcoin to continue to the upside, probably towards $20,000. And the pivot now is going to be right at the median of the historical 50% range highs here. So the breakout of yesterday, which was, if you want to be super exact, 18,430. So as long as Bitcoin's closing above there, any sort of a pullback theoretically down to that level should be a higher low on the lower term timeframes and continue onwards and upwards into the higher term timeframes. Speaking of the lower term timeframes, we haven't really spoken too much about that. If we go over here to the 4-hour timeframe, divergences will be building. We are starting to witness extremes on the 4-hour timeframe. Can it go a little bit more before it pulls back? Yes, definitely. But we don't necessarily actually have divergent signals confirmed just yet. They're just in progress. So even the 4-hour jewel still maintains its upside curvature, which is kind of, these are very aggressive moves here, obviously. If we go and look at stochastic momentum, which I can bring up over here, starting off with the 12-hour time frame, it will be turning down if Bitcoin closed below 19,100 on CME. A little bit later today, 6-hour time frame will also be turning down below 19,000. 4-hour time frame will be turning up above 18,850, which is actually above right now. And an hourly will be flippy floppy here and likely down, and it is down as long as Bitcoin's below 18,933, which actually is $2 above right now. So we do see bifurcation in these yet again, but you can see that we're witnessing extremes. So there might be one more short-term try to the upside, probably if if I had it my way, if I was the whale in charge, it's like there's one fucking whale in charge, like obviously not, then probably one more spike to the upside, bit of sideways over the weekend, and then next week, it's continuation is going to happen. That'd be the time. So I think that's a good place for me to be leaving this one off as well. I should once again shout out good old Bybit for their nice shill link in the description below. They got their promotions going on, of which one of them actually offers 0% make fees on derivative orders. Some people have been having issues with that. What you should do if you have issues with it is contact Bybit support, and they'll sort you out. Other than that, I want to be wishing you the best as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully. I forgot to mention. Did I talk about the importance of the 18,500 level? I think I did, yes. Yeah, 18,500, as long as Bitcoin's above there, all short-term pullbacks are just higher lows. There you go. All right, take care, much love. See you hopefully soon.